All right, Jasmine, thank you. The time now is 6:43, and joining us right now live via FaceTime is East Baton Rouge Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome. Mayor, good morning to you. It's always great to have you on the show. We have a lot to get to on a busy Friday morning. Obviously, we have been watching some unfortunate scenes playing out there in Minnesota over the death of George Floyd. We'll get to that in just a minute, your reaction. But first, I want to start with something new that you recently announced this week here in the capital city, some changes and some expansions coming to COVID-19 testing for folks here in the parish. What is this all about?
Well, as you know, when we first started out in March, we had a challenge, of course, with getting a number of testing sites up. Fortunately, we were the first to get a testing site up, a mobile testing site, with the cooperation of our hospitals. That was around March 17th. Now we have almost 22 testing sites, I believe, where people throughout the parish can go to get testing. And most of these testing sites do not require upfront money. So that's great because our goal is to make sure that people are tested for COVID-19.
And you mentioned that those first testing sites that we saw about March 16th, March 17th, the first one that most folks recognize is the testing site at Baton Rouge General's Mid-City campus. Since about March 16th, you guys have tested nearly 3,000 people at the sites there at Mid-City as well as OLOL's North Campus. But now with these expanded testing sites, those original sites will be kind of phased out over the next couple of weeks. What should folks know about that?
Well, first of all, the Baton Rouge General site in Mid City is less than a half a mile. I found out it's like zero point 0.3 miles from a new testing site that has been opened with Care South. They're a matter of blocks from each other. So we are referring clients now to the Care South location on Florida, right down the street, and that will allow the individuals who have been volunteering at the BRG site to phase out. That will happen in a couple of weeks, but we still have our site at the Airline Highway location. And now individuals will be able to go into the urgent care clinic there to get tested. So we still have a robust opportunity for individuals to be tested throughout our city and parish.
And again, this is free testing and no doctor's notes are required at most of these sites. So really, if you feel like you need to be tested, there are plenty of options across the city parish. I want to touch on some of those harder headlines that we are following this morning out of Minneapolis surrounding the death of George Floyd and some of the scenes that we've been seeing play out all morning. Some live pictures from the ground there in Minnesota. Some folks here in the capital city may be seeing these images and having flashbacks, unfortunately, to just 4 years ago. We know this pain in this community all too well here in the capital city. Last night you posted on social media saying that we can't be indifferent to tragedies like this, but we must find our ability to bring change. How do we do that? How do we make sure that our community is progressing forward and not going to move back to what we've seen in the past?
Where there are a lot of ways that we make sure that happens. Number one, we implement policy changes, and we've done that right after what took place in 2016 with the Alton Sterling killing. What we did, we implemented policies within our police department surrounding use of force. We had conversations and continue to have conversations to close the gap with the citizens in our community. Chief Paul has an advisory committee. So we have worked very intentionally as a community and as a city to make sure that we close the gap that exists between law enforcement and our citizens. And in addition, Chief Paul has added extra training and for our officers as well. But in addition to that, we have to have conversations across racial lines so people understand uh, how folks are feeling. For example, during this tragedy of George Floyd, there are some people who don't understand the pain that many African Americans are feeling at this time. And to understand that it takes communication, it takes building relationships and understanding. However, I would say that regardless of the color of your skin, our moral compass has to respond when we see tragedies like that happen, regardless of the color of our skin, that in and of itself should bring a level of concern. It should bring a level of grief, and it should bring a level of a desire to want to change things in our world.
Absolutely, and it's great that we've seen some of our local law enforcement leaders coming out and reprehending the actions of those officers there in Minnesota. Checking privilege and bringing accountability in these situations also very important. Mayor Broome, thank you so much for your words this morning. We appreciate your time. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.